Want to stop juggling spreadsheets, calendars, and a dozen apps just to run your rentals? Lodgify makes it easy. It's an all-in-one toolkit for hosts. Build a direct booking website, automate guest messaging, and keep all your channels in sync. Running your rental business your way has never been simpler. And for Good Morning Hospitality listeners, you can get 20% off any yearly plan with code GMH20. Just check the link in the show notes to get started today.
Welcome to Good Morning Hospitality, your one-stop shop for the latest news, noteworthy trends, and thought-provoking discussions across the industry. From hotels and short-term rentals to all things travel and hospitality, you'll find each episode equips you with the information that you need to start your week. Join us on Good Morning Hospitality every Monday, wherever you get your podcasts.
Good morning, you crazy kids.
Good morning. Happy Monday.
Hello, best day of the week. Back.
How we doing?
Work.
We're back at it. A beautiful Monday. Michael, I love the shirt. I love the shirt.
Live the brand.
Oh
baby.
no,
Live the brand.
I'm not repping today.
Come on, Brandy.
Brandy's not on brand.
Sorry.
That's going to be the new shirt we make for you. Is Brandy not on
No,
brand? Hashtag.
no. Listen, I'm still waiting for my Brandy Rant t-shirt.
So, yeah. Anyways, we should just learn the lesson that we should not put me in charge of merch and any extracurricular activities for the show because nothing's getting done. I'm just drowning and stuff.
I mean, I think that is you've taken on some new hotels and stuff. Like, welcome to operations, my friend. Well, welcome back to operations.
Yeah. I'm heading
It's
to
tough out
Florida
here.
tomorrow for some property quality control deep dives with our housekeeping teams and maintenance. So it's going to be so much fun. I can't wait.
Brandy's a pro at that by now.
100%. Brandy, any notes you can send my way, please, I'll take it. We're single family homes, not multi. Yeah, there we go. There we go. And anyone that has any good pool tech, please let me know. Please, remote temperature control, anything like that, please let me know. It's the bane of my existence right now. So anyways, before we geek out on ops, you guys have a good weekend? Anything fun, special?
A lazy weekend. I actually slept in, went for some nice long walks. It was great. I watched Fallout, which is I'm not like a video game person at all, but it's really good. If you need something like a brain on the shelf, it's good. So
it's good. Like how far have you gotten?
The whole season.
Me too. I listened, no joke. Were you surprised by the end or no?
Kind of. Well, we can deep dive later.
I know. I just felt like it was a slow drip, and then I think got to the last two episodes. I was like, "What the heck?" So much was unpacked. So it was a great show. Anyone else that's watched it, let us know your thoughts because I would love to geek out on it. Michael, anything fun for the Mother's Day weekend? You and the boys treat Kristen to a nice day.
First of all, I've never even heard of that show you guys were just mentioning. Is it called Bluey? Because
Cocomelon Bluey.
Yeah, this weekend was my son's 5th birthday party at the trampoline park. So utter chaos with a dozen little 5 and 6 year olds running around.
I love it.
Had our neighborhood cookout and Mother's Day. So the exact opposite is yours, Brandy. I am drained today versus rejuvenated. So
yeah,
you can probably hear it in my voice too. A little under the weather.
I'll send you some of my energy. I last week I was dragging and I'm like, oh, it's nice to start Monday with some pep.
Yeah. Don't have that. But the good news is we didn't have to dive too deep into topics this week. There was a absolute flurry of news between earnings, acquisitions, investments, but we'll get to that in a second. Will, you want to plug the retreat real quick?
Yeah, I was gonna say for all the listeners, if you're a live viewer and you haven't been listening on Spotify or Apple, then you wouldn't have heard our constant ads plugging Good Morning Retreats, which is talking about our upcoming retreat in July 8th through the 10th in Auburn, Alabama, right in Michael's backyard at the Horst Schultz Hospitality School. So this is going to be really fun. And the kind of idea and thesis behind this retreat for us was like, All right. A lot of STR or vacation rental managers don't come from traditional hospitality. So let's create an environment where we can expose CEOs, operation managers, founders to this environment of what it's like to go through hospitality training, what this hospitality school looks like, and how they structure things and all the fun stuff with some fun experiences. We won't give away all the details, but you can go to goodmorningretreats.com and see a published itinerary along with getting your name on a potential list as we are almost
I think
full.
we have 3 spots left. So if you're interested, let us know and we will give you more information.
Yes. And we're only asking for operators right now. We are pretty much full. We have 3 vendors that are showing up. So only operators. Unfortunately, if you're a vendor and you want to go into the next one, get on that wait list because the demand is high and the supply is low, baby. So yeah, good morning, Richard.
In our markets.
Exactly. Well, moving on without doing too much self plug, we had Michael, you said it very well in the sense of there was no shortage of topics to discuss today. We have the 2 main ones being the earning calls, but obviously we got to talk about some of the capital raises, which was very interesting. Australia and Mexico.
Yep.
So Michael,
big shout out to my boy Dave Thompson with the Home Time team down in Australia. Pulled in 10 million Australian dollars. Honestly, don't know how much that is in US. I think 6 or 7 for a growth funding round. I know it's been a slog down in Australia. Getting through COVID was a beast because their rules were draconian, if I may say so. But they made it out and they pulled in 10 million in growth equity, so that's huge. And then their neighbors over in New Zealand, Urban Butler, was acquired by Urban Rest. Quite frankly, I had never heard of Urban Rest before, but Urban Butler, I believe, was the largest in New Zealand. So big shout out to another acquisition out there. And then more investment coming out of Mexico with Naya Homes. I believe they're based in Miami, but all of their properties and operations are out of Mexico. So they pulled in another $3.1 million to continue their growth. So we're seeing a lot of growth outside of the U.S. We'll get to some of the challenges and headwinds in the U.S. later on in the show, but fantastic to see some of the rest of the world starting to thaw out that capital and grow and help the industry continue to get back to where it was,
especially on the operator side. Oh, go ahead.
Exactly.
Sorry, Randy.
That's exactly what I was going to say. We've been hearing about all these investments in tech, and it's like, yes, the operators get a win.
The operators are getting a couple wins. I love it.
Yeah,
no, it's super good. And then on top of that, we got some news this morning. But before we get into that one, shout out, what up, Tanner Cummings, who is coming to the retreat. If you want to get to meet Tanner and other cool people like him, you can come too. All right, that's the last shameless plug. But the news we got this morning, Touch Day on the tech side, which we just talked about operators, but Touch Day was actually just acquired this May 1st. So this is fun, exciting, I guess, news. I don't really know the parent company that brought them in, never really heard of them. So it's going to be interesting to see what they do with the product and the user base, basically. I don't know if they're traditionally used to normal vacation rental hosts and property managers. So we'll see how that unravels in the future.
It's doesn't look like a merger within the space to be a complementary service, and it also doesn't look like private equity. So very curious to learn more on their acquirer. Looks like they're based out of the Czech Republic. So kudos to them nonetheless. More mergers, acquisitions, and investments this week is I think a trend that we predicted early in the year, and it's really starting to gain some steam right now.
100%. Well, as we're transitioning to the main topics of the episode, I want to transition your operations into Sojo Pantry, as we are all getting used to what this operation landscape looks like as guests are demanding more. We all know that the best days are fully stocked, from cooking essentials, coffee, bar amenities, and snacks. Give your guests a taste of vacation that the moment they walk through the door, you get Sojo with Pantry, and they will enable the tech and the amenities down to your vacation rentals to make sure that you have the highest output and satisfaction with your guests. So make sure you grab the link in the show notes, go to getsojo.com/GMH and go to Pantry. You'll get the amazing pantry items that are always changing and updating. So whether you're in a mountain market or a beach market or anything in between, you'll have something for your guests to make sure that they're fully stocked and ready to go for their stay. So shout out to Sojo. We love you guys.
We do. And there's nothing worse than showing up to a vacation rental and there's no salt and pepper or olive oil or some of the just like must have things to cook that you don't even think about to bring with you because you just assume every house is going to have it. So deliver that for your guests with Sojo.
Amen.
That literally happened to me at that giant house in West Virginia that I was talking about last week. I was in the grocery store and I panic called the people at the house and I was like, do we even have like salt or olive oil or anything? And we did not. So it's definitely good to have even the basics on hand.
100%. I love that we can apply this to real life situations. This is great.
Exactly.
All right, let's get into yeah, seriously. Brandywine experiences coming back to the real world.
Maybe one day.
One day. I love it. Awesome. So shout out to you, Tanner, of course. But let's get into the topics of today, which is Q1 financial earnings from Vacasa and Airbnb specifically. Obviously, they're very different companies. One is a booking platform. The other is an operating co. So this is pretty fascinating. I want to start with you, Brandy. Give us a high level overview on let's go Airbnb first. I think we'll knock them out of the way and then we'll get actually no, screw that. I'm changing my plan of attack here. Michael, you go with Airbnb. I want to hear your thoughts on Q1 because Brandy, since you're an operator, I want to hear your thoughts on Vacasa. So
okay,
Michael, you're first.
Yeah, so Airbnb apparently crushed their numbers, but it wasn't good enough for Wall Street, and they've been down 7% since they reported earnings. And some of that's with adjusted forward-looking numbers, but additionally, like domestic travel, they're claiming was stable. They didn't disclose anything specifically on North America, but they did see an increase in groups of 5 or more. So that increased by 15%, first quarter 23 versus first quarter 24. And that's eating directly into Vrbo's kind of bread and butter, the larger family group travel. And while Expedia owns Vrbo, so they don't have to report specifically on Vrbo's numbers. It does appear that they were down about 15%. So not a great long-term view there for Vrbo. They got a lot of ground to make up from the first quarter, but I'm confident they can pull it out in the long run.
Was any of that, do you think, like impacted by their tech transition? Sorry to cut you off, Brandy, but I'm wondering if the tech piece behind Expedia, Vrbo had anything to do with kind of the slowness and growth.
Yeah, I mean, I think part of it's going to be that, and part of it's where you're getting the supply growth from. The metric that Airbnb keeps touting on the street is supply growth, supply growth, supply growth. And what that ultimately does for everybody is the more properties there are, demand has gone up over the past year. But if you've increased supply by 20% and demand goes up 10%, then, as a whole, the market is net down. Mm-hmm. And I think, part of it is urban travel is probably coming back now, and Vrbo doesn't have a whole lot of exposure there, whereas they're very, very heavy in the larger home, traditional vacation rental market. And we'll get into some of that with Vacasa's numbers and how they kind of mirror similarly. But another somewhat surprise was Booking.com's first quarter room night growth was up 13%, with supply up 11%. So a lot of that growth is still international. It's not domestic in the US. Mm-hmm. For as long as I've been in the industry, Booking.com has touted that they can and will grow the US market. But with incumbents like Vrbo and Airbnb, they haven't done that, but they have continued to nail and grow the international market. So, stick with what you're best at.
Yeah, this is obviously anecdotal, but for us, we've seen huge increases in the revenue share coming from Booking.com. Like it used to be Airbnb was dominant, but now Airbnb, Direct, and Booking.com are all kind of like vying for those top 3 spots. So I also, I mean, if you listen to any podcasts in any industry, you're just bombarded with these Booking.com ads, and actually all 3, but Booking.com, Vrbo, and Airbnb. But I think that this is one of the interesting stats is that Vrbo's, international inventory is like 47%, and that's where like some of I think we've been looking to international markets for that growth, but by kind of slowing down their PR and marketing push than the last couple of years to maybe get their house in order, I do think that was like ceding a lot of ground to Airbnb that is going to be very difficult to recover. Airbnb is just, I mean, we talked about it last week. It's just kind of like a monster marketing machine. And so to combat that, make up lost ground and then, beat them, I think will take some real time and creative geniuses over there.
100%. I don't disagree with you. And as a person that's behind the scenes on our GMH Europe crew, it was really interesting. This episode coming up tomorrow with Sarah and Leo talking about the growth in not just like they're talking about Airbnb, obviously, but Booking.com is still so dominant where people are seeing not just Book Direct increase, but like Booking.com is such a huge piece of the pie in Europe that even with local operators in the US, those who do list, it does pick up. Like we even have a couple Booking.com reservations with our hotels and homes, but at the end of the day, it's a, like you said, Brandy, a very hard catch up game that they're gonna have to play compared to Airbnb.
Yeah, all of us look at our businesses in months and quarters, and they look at their businesses in years and decades. Yep. So you see the little ground for a period of time. They've got a plan, I'm sure. So yeah, Terry just wrote in, depends on the month, but most months I'm getting more reservations from Booking than from Airbnb. I'm curious, Terry, are you in a market with a lot of international travelers, or is that domestic to domestic, basically? Brandy being in Miami with a lot of Latin American, a lot of European travelers coming in, makes a lot of sense why Booking would be up there, but curious if Booking's gaining ground on American travelers.
New Orleans has big Booking.com market share as well. So it's really interesting, but I think it's because we also have kind of more hotel-like product. So, and when you go to look on Booking.com, that's going to be in the same feed of options. So it'll be interesting if people who have just like the traditional single-family homes, if they're seeing any of that share. But kind of along these lines of the OTAs, some OTAs doing much better. I think that is in contrast to what we're seeing on the operator side. And I like that today we have kind of the contrast between Airbnb and Vacasa, because you're seeing kind of two sides of that coin. And Terry did say that most of his travel is coming domestic. So yeah, I think that Super Bowl ad push is working out for Booking.com.
Yeah, you spend $1 billion and magic happens, right?
Yeah, that's really good. That's fascinating. Yeah, it's Airbnb. I think it was surprising to see the Wall Street market, not respond as positively to them having the most profitable first quarter yet. I thought it was great, but interesting response. I would love to know, Brandy, let's go over the Vacasa stuff, because I think this one's going to have a lot more meat and it's going to be a lot more applicable to our listeners that are operators as well, not just the tech vendor side.
Yeah, so definitely not going to do a Vacasa takedown, but just some interesting nuggets in here. And I think for me, I mean, there's obviously the layoff portion. They're, really leaning out on the corporate overhead side of things, but this focus back into the local markets and running this company as if it's just a bunch of smaller local companies, is what we've said, I think, for a while, that they were trying to do things at a national scale, which is just incredibly difficult. So I think that this push, and they've obviously been, implementing the structure behind this for a little while. This isn't like a new thought. But I think that they'll probably see some better results, giving more of the power and the accountability and the control to their local teams who really know what's going on, who really know those homeowners, who really know, the teams there and just how the market plays. I think will be is a good move for them. And there are some questions from investors about whether those local teams are going to be able to handle the responsibilities. And I think like these are a lot of their local teams are companies that they acquired. Like they were running businesses before Vacasa swooped in. And so obviously like the super high level financial reporting and all of that is probably centralized. But when it comes to local market financials and local market operations, those teams are going to have a much better idea on how to, read and control their P&L and see those fluctuations throughout the year than, their maybe like national headquarters will.
Yeah. So Front Desk, Domio, Lyric, Sonder, Stay Alfred, Vacasa, Turnkey, Wyndham, Resort Quest. These are all companies that have tried going national, and they've all failed pretty much. I mean, Saunders hanging on by a thread. It just
been a little quiet.
It just doesn't seem like a winning formula. Like learn from the past. Now, what Brandy's doing, they're only in 2 markets, right? There's been loads of companies succeeding in 2 markets. There's been also the franchise model, Costigo and iTrip, where you can pull in a couple of core centralized functions, but everything else stays and remains local. This is a local business. It's like a realtor business, essentially, where you can't be selling houses in Nebraska if you live in Georgia. It just doesn't really mesh. You need that local knowledge. So I think Vacasa is probably looking at their peers over at Costigo and iTrip and saying, what are they doing right that we aren't? How can they have not raised $1 billion and still scale into all these different markets that they're in?
Yeah, the other interesting kind of like nugget from all of this is kind of what we were talking about, the opposite side of the coin to Airbnb and talking about their revenue being down. And I think that this is just another, like they're already struggling with what you're saying, like the scaling nationally and figuring out all of that and reversing course, having some owner churn. But it all comes down also to revenue. Like revenue solves almost all ills. And they're seeing what a lot of us are seeing, like continued decrease in revenue year over year. And that is just a really hard battle to fight, especially when you're as large as they are and when they're trying to keep owners on board. And those owners are saying, well, what about 2021? And those are unrealistic expectations. I think that this is we talked about this briefly before the show, but this is Airbnb and the OTAs are touting supply growth, and that's all great for them. And it looks rosy on that side. But the opposite is being shown on Vacasa's side, where demand isn't necessarily softening, but your ADRs are. There's way more supply. You're getting much less than you were a couple years ago. And I don't really think that there's a silver bullet for that. And if someone knows of one, please message me. But that is a battle. Like you can tighten up your local operations and cut costs and do layoffs and all of that. But the revenue side, that is a much trickier problem to solve.
Yeah, the layoffs piece, especially, it was 800 people, 13%. It's not just C-level. There was I think they had a couple C-level positions cut, and yeah, we're gone. But Brandy, there was a couple comments in there from CEO of, I don't know why I'm blanking on his name. Downfalls of a live show is when you have a brain fart. But yeah, there you go. So like he mentioned, the lackluster of travel in non-urban markets. And I'm kind of like, I'm not surprised by this because obviously as the wallet tightens for the American traveler and like just overall economy in general, I get that like going 3 hours or 5 hours or flying or driving to another state to go stay at a home and spend all this money, like it makes sense, right? So are you guys, I don't know, what's your thought on the urban piece? Because I'm finding that fascinating that they're looking at urban markets being like okay versus their surrounding markets not being okay, if that makes sense. Hopefully.
Ask Sonder. Brandy looks like she might be frozen.
I think she froze.
my only comment there would be ask Sonder. I mean, that doesn't make sense. There's still a demand growth, and we'll have Jamie on next week, and he can tell us how much demand has grown, in the more traditional destination markets. But it is going up. The problem is the supply side, and when you have too much supply, there's definitely an imbalance right now. Will that imbalance balance out eventually? Or, I mean, ultimately, housing prices will, in those destination markets, will likely start to come down as a result of property revenues coming down. Because if property revenues come down, the house is less valuable because it's essentially run as a business. So I wouldn't be personally, well, maybe I would, there's too much inflation going on, but I was about to say I wouldn't personally be investing in vacation rentals in destination markets, but as bad as inflation is lately, it probably still makes sense to do it. You just got to assume supply growth in your market, and whatever you're underwriting your revenues to today, don't increase it.
Well, 100%. I'm kind of waiting for the supply bubble to burst, maybe a little naively, but we keep talking like there has to be, all of these things are in cycles, right? And so we've talked a lot, and it's really super hyper specific to my market in Miami, but these like 8,000 units that are coming online in the next month, I'm like, at some point that has to start declining, because I think we see the writing on the wall, maybe, and maybe some of the hosts, we talk about the quote hobby host, but like the Airbnb hosts are seeing that their revenues are softening a bit. So I'm wondering when we're just going to see a return of the supply to the long-term market in like real numbers, because we hear it anecdotally, but we're still seeing supply growth. So it's obviously not taking into effect yet, but I think it will. I don't know. I'm waiting for this bubble to burst a little bit.
Yeah, and Jamie can tell us the numbers there too, but I also believe there's a gross undersupply of long-term rentals available in most cities across the country, just flatly. So, yeah, it'll be curious to see how it all plays out. I don't think I haven't seen Saunders' quarterly numbers or report.
Again, they've been quiet. They've been a little too quiet.
That'll be an interesting one. I did hear a hedge fund might be moving in, but I could be wrong there.
I mean, they did say they had to have to redo 2 years worth of financials, and I think it'll be quiet. It'll be quiet from them, and I feel like the next news will be big, whether that, in one direction or the other.
I don't disagree, and I can't wait to cover it with you guys on the show, because that's what we're going to be doing. But yeah, no, this is all really good stuff. There's definitely not a shortage of topics this week. I know there's a couple other things that we probably have missed, in the sense of I got a notification from Verbo that California now bans all basically like fees and amenities not being fully disclosed and showcased upon booking and blah blah blah. So more topics to come probably in the future. But at the end of the day, this was a fun episode. You guys have anything coming up this week that you're either looking forward to or excited to share with the listeners?
Nothing groundbreaking right now. Just plugging along.
Bridgerton season 3 comes out, so we're hoping to ride some nice press with Storied, but we'll see if we can pull it off.
Yes, I feel like that is.
Oh, go ahead.
No, I was gonna say, I feel like that is like the best PR for you. Like, have your own Bridgerton experience, find your own Bridgerton man, whatever. Oh my God. Yeah. You should lean heavily into that.
We're trying.
I love it. I was going to say, I heard you guys, actually, never mind. That was wrong article thing I was thinking about. So never mind. Anyways, great stuff. Love it. I'm excited to report to you guys next week from Florida, as I'm going to be there for a while. So it's going to be a fun couple of weeks here. Really looking forward to it. But anyways, great episode. Thank you. Yes, I will report back on all my fun adventures, especially for those who are going to be in Boca for the executive summit. So that'll be fun. I'm going to crash that party. So if you're there,
you got to come and stop, say hi to me when you're on your way there. You're like,
is Miami on the way to Boca, or is it?
No, it's past Boca, but you're close enough.
That's what I'm doing. So actually, I'm really excited. I'm going to be doing I got a premium Brightline ticket. Going to be doing the whole experience from Orlando down to Boca. But I think I might be in Miami next week for Click. I might come to the Booking.com conference there. So if I am in town, I'll be saying hi to my favorite Romy. You know what I'm saying? JK, aka, sorry, what am I saying? Too much caffeine. Brandy, there we go. Shoot.
You got there eventually.
So much caffeine going through my body right now. All right. Great episode, guys. Great to see your faces. Happy Monday. For all the listeners, like, subscribe, tune in. If you're in Europe or anywhere else across the world, make sure you check out GMH Europe. They're going live. And if you're going to be in Barcelona tomorrow, Tuesday, then check them out at Scale Rentals. You want to get there, get your pictures with the crew. They're in high demand right now. So, just really make sure you're getting in line as soon as possible. And then, of course, our hotel crew on Wednesday. As you guys know, like and subscribe, and we'll see you guys all again next week.
Want to stop juggling spreadsheets, calendars, and a dozen apps just to run your rentals? Logify makes it easy. It's an all-in-one toolkit for hosts. Build a direct booking website, automate guest messaging, and keep all your channels in sync. Running your rental business your way has never been simpler. And for Good Morning Hospitality listeners, you can get 20% off any yearly plan with code GMH20. Just check the link in the show notes to get started today.